My name is Richard Casper. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I teach the course here at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. This program started basically because after my injuries in war, I didn't know how to deal with myself. I came back, had a brain injury, my best friend was shot and killed. I didn't know myself at that point. Art has helped me by giving me a chance to have a voice again. I used to not be able to leave my house. I couldn't go talk to people. I would physically throw up and get sick. If you could be 0%, that's committing suicide, 100% being the best you can be. After the Marine Corps, after being injured, I was at probably like a 9 or a 10. And after this school, I was back to like 85% me. For people who may struggle like I did and didn't want to break out of the house and be like, I'm not sure if this is going to work, I just want them to know my story and be able to come out here and learn with other combat vets how to do art. And if they're looking for one more way, if they just come out here and give me a chance, it's going to be worth it.
What we were aiming for is to express what we were dealing with, when we were deployed and during our military career, where we literally get out of our element, go on this kind of like alternate reality to go back in time, think about what we went through, and express it to other people.
Just being exposed to different concepts of art, like at the museum and some of the contemporary art we saw, that's what influenced me to try doing a performance piece for my last project.
The opportunity to be at the school was just phenomenal. It was amazing. At lunch, we could go and wander the halls of the museums, and that was pretty awesome.
I think the hardest part was actually talking about what I've been through. It was easy talking to Richard because he is a combat veteran and he has been through stuff I've been through. And
my job was to, go find IEDs or find landmines or anti-personnel landmines and take them apart. And little did I know, I was putting that stuff inside me.
At first, it's a little hard to let yourself become vulnerable. You won't really know what to do right away. It takes a couple days. I know for me, it took a week.
Being surrounded by a bunch of veterans that know what combat feels like, knows the after effects of combat, knows how it feels to come home. It was really comfortable being here.
They're going to come to class like normal college students, treated like normal people that know how to be like, I can be in college, I am a normal person, and I can live like everybody else lives. If even one of them chose to go to college and study art and has that artist brain to where it saved them, it's totally worth it.
Hey everybody. Hey, great content. Thanks for the sparks. So, super excited tonight. We get to do some acrylic pour paintings. So I'm going to try out a couple of different techniques. I have a recipe that I know works, so I'm going to use that, but we're also going to add a few drops of silicone to the recipe that I already use and see what we come up with. So my plan is to get through 3 canvases tonight so you guys can see a couple of different things. And please ask questions, talk as much as you want. I'll attempt to keep up with chat. So we're going to go ahead and head over to the workspace and get started. All right, so I've got 3 11 by 14 canvases that we're going to work with tonight. And I've covered my grandpa's desk because this is going to get crazy messy. Like really messy, so we're going to hope for the best. You may hear some rumbling around me. There is a killer storm going on right now, so it's a little loud out there. So the base recipe that we're going to use tonight is about 25 milliliters of Floetrol. I'm going to get this gallon of Floetrol. So this is a latex-based painting medium, all right? I'm looking over there so I can see if you guys talk to me. So it's acrylic, and I'm using acrylic paints. So you want to stick, like with like. There is an oil-based version of this. There's other types of this, but essentially this is a self-leveling painting medium. So it's going to make the paint level out, so I'll have a nice smooth surface, but it'll also thin out the paint a little bit, get it to flow a little faster, and then we're going to have, so I'm going to use five parts of this, I believe so.
It's completely frozen on mine, so.
To 1 part of paint, 1 part of water, and then on our second canvas, we're going to add about 2 to 4 drops of this silicone and test that out and see if we can get some cell development. So I've already got paint all over my hands, obviously. I look a little bit like a zombie. So our first canvas, this canvas right here is 11 by 14. We're just using regular acrylic paints that you can get anywhere, right?
You're not going to mess with anything?
No, I don't want you to mess with anything.
Okay, I'm just making sure
I'm
because it's
good.
storming.
Hey, CreatiVets Live on Twitch. How are you? Great name. Outlaw's worried about the storm, so he's checking in on me.
I just want to make sure it's good.
Yeah, so you can pick up these paints, like these paints are 68 cents, right? Really inexpensive. You can buy Floetrol in a quart size, which is, appreciably smaller than this gallon. And it's about $6 in any home improvement store. It's in the paint section. So fairly inexpensive, right? This canvas, I want to say I spent, I think I paid $5 a piece for them, or close to that, under 5. So all told, I'll be able to make a 11 by 14 painting for around $6.50, $7 tonight, which is pretty cool. So acrylic pours come out a lot of different ways. So I want to show you some examples before we start, okay? So this is a ring pour that I did yesterday. This is the reason that my nails are still green today. And you can get some really cool details in a painting like this, right? And I used it with the exact, I made this with the exact recipe that we'll be using tonight. So this will become a background for another painting for me. This painting can stand alone. I could hang it on the wall just as it is. But I'm going to put some brushed gold koi on it. There are 3 koi fish that I want to put on it in kind of that shape. So, hey Skelly, welcome. So this will kind of look like a pond, right? Little abstract, but very cool. And then this is the exact same technique. It was a ring pour. And we got these 2 galaxies. So results vary, right? Depending on how you move the paint around, and you'll get to see that as we start working through it. Also depending on how you put the paint on the canvas. So how you pour the paint into your cups will change your results. So we're going to go through a couple of techniques and go ahead and get started, okay? So I've got my little cup marked here. I don't know how well you guys can see that. I got a little Sharpie mark on it that's telling me how much Floetrol to pour in here. Because I have this giganto gallon and I don't want to just pour a ton of it. I've got myself 4 cups, right? Hey, outlaw. So you can probably see that line a little better now, maybe. So I'm going to start by putting my Floetrol in each cup. The other thing I like about Floetrol as a painting medium, and there's a lot of different things you can use. You do not have to use this. But one of the things that I like about it is that when it dries, it's inert, which means it does not change the color of the paint. It doesn't change the texture of the paint. It looks exactly like I expect it to look every time. So I really like that. You can also use, and you can find recipes for this all over the internet, Elmer's glue and water. You can use a product called Mod Podge, which is something that I use to seal some of my paintings, and water. So you've got some options. And then there's some fairly expensive pre-mixed painting mediums out there that you can just buy. I will tell you, I've never tried any. I just filled out 4 of my cups. Okay, we're gonna save that for a minute because I need an empty cup. It's like the shell game over here. Okay. So this equals about 5 parts. I can't use the water at my house because it's hard water. So use bottled water, distilled water, whatever. I have found that hard water changes my paint. And it won't flow as nice, and it won't stir as nice. I don't know what it is about it. But this just seems to work better, so this is what I use. And then I'm going to put in some cream. Some of this nice brown. This is nutmeg brown. The first, I believe, is just antique white. No, it's called buttermilk. I'm sorry. And this is just black. All right. Now we're going to stir this up, and I'm going to make sure it gets really incorporated. In the first painting, I'm not going to add silicone. In the second one, I am, because I want you guys to see the difference. And I will tell you, the cleanup is going to be intense here tonight. So there's going to be a little delay between paintings where I'm trying to pick stuff up because I don't want to pour paint all over my floor. Has anybody ever done an acrylic pour painting before? Just watch me do it. Well. So the consistency in paint I'm looking for, number one, for this type of pour, I want all three of my paints to have the same weight, right? I want them to be about the same. I don't want one heavier, because when we move this paint around, one will move faster or slower than the other if they're weighted different. So I'm looking for, you know, heavy cream, right? It's pretty thin. This one, too thin. This one, pretty good. So, I'm going to add some more paint to this. Stir that up and see if we need to add some more Floetrol, because that paint's thinner. Depending on the age of your paint, quality of paint, brand of your paint, some of them are thinner, some of them are thicker. So you're going to have to modify that recipe. To kind of work with your paint. And I want just a tiny bit more in there, but I don't want enough that I want to pull out that whole gallon. There we go. This is much better. I can already feel the difference. Outlaw, thank you. Yeah, get the word out. If you guys know veterans, or you are a veteran, of course. There, this is better. See how that's better? That's flowing about the same as this one. Yeah. Yeah, let them know about CreatiVets. So much good stuff going on CreatiVets. All right. So we've got our three paints, cream, brown, and black, right? And I've got my empty cup. So now I have to think about, how do I want this paint to lay on here, okay? Because as I pour this paint into this cup, I'm going to stack it. So all this paint is going to go into one cup before I pour it on the canvas. And it's first in, last out, meaning the first paint that I pour in here will be the last thing that shows up on the canvas. So chances are that's going to be my center as I move all the paint off of the canvas and it drips away, right? So the center I want to be cream. So I'm going to put cream in first. And then we'll go to brown. And I'm just going to stack this paint up by pouring it a little bit down the side of the cup. For this particular painting, I'm going to keep this pattern going. There are times that I alternate, or halfway through I'll reverse it because of an effect I'm hoping to get. Or I'll just randomly put those colors in there. All depends on what I'm feeling at the time. This is part of the process that I like, by the way. I like watching the pattern of the paint pour into the cup. This is incredibly relaxing to me. and very satisfying. Pour painting has been talked about all over the internet, and there are various opinions about it. But I'll tell you what, there is a lot of instant gratification with this technique. So, no matter how I'm feeling on the day, I can come in here and do this, relax instantly, my breathing slows, it's fun, it puts a smile on my face. And then I get to create something. So I'm going to take this remainder of black. I left a little bit in my cup here. And I'm going to pour this out on these two corners, just so I've got a little bit of extra paint there. I'm going to take this brown and pour it out on these two corners. Chances are this is paint we're going to lose, meaning it's going to go out on the table. Okay. But as the paint's moving on this canvas, which the canvas is not wet or anything, makes it easier to move if it's got paint to hit on its way. All right. So we're going to take our, look at how pretty that is. Isn't that pretty? We're going to take this. I'm going to very slowly pour it in the center. And then I'm going to start moving this canvas, and I'm going to let it drip all over the place. So we're about to make a huge mess. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. Let's see what we create. All right, let's see what this does when we stretch it out. So I haven't used my whole cup. I wanted to move this through a little bit. Because I already liked the pattern that I was seeing on here. And I think we may have enough paint on the canvas to pull this off. Move this down just a little, but I don't want to lose these lines, so I'm going to let it just kiss the edge of the canvas and come back. So I'm going to pour a line around the edge of this canvas. Create myself just a little border. And then I'm going to pull that back off because I don't want to lose this pattern that I've got going on in the center. But I do want to move some paint to the edge of my canvas. Move that back down. So can you see how slow the paint's starting to move right now? So this is telling me that I've got just about enough paint on this canvas. See how it's only moving in one area there? Can you see it? The light shining on it? Right? So the rest of that paint's pretty much staying where I want it. Do you remember that part where I said we're going to get messy? That's what I'm talking about. Y'all see my hands? And I'm just going to touch up these little white spots on the side of the canvas. I want it covered all the way around. Yeah, I like that. Want to see some of the detail in there? It's just dripping all over the place. Isn't that cool? I just created my own galaxy. I love it. It maybe looks like burled wood. Can you see like the lines in the wood there on that corner? So if I were going to use this as a background, this would be a perfect piece for me to paint a tree on and put maybe a squirrel or an animal inside where all those spots are, the stars, so to speak. Right? So he looked like he was peeking up out of a tree. Maybe an owl. That'd be really cool. So if I were to use it as a background, I could do that. Doesn't have to be a background, can just be a standalone painting, right? I can hang this on the wall as soon as it's dry. So, highly recommend that you keep this level, because if it is not level, the paint's going to continue to pour off the sides. And then, thank you so much. But this definitely has a really cool earthy feel to it. I like this color combination. And you'll see, so see right in here where we've got more cells popping up, right? It will continue to develop cells. So as that paint moves, the paint from the bottom, as it wants to move up to the top, will continue to do that. So the painting I end up with is going to be slightly different, dry, than the painting I have wet. They always take on their own little personality in time. But I do like this. So I'm going to set this over here. I've got a table set up here that has these little plastic cups set upside down that I'm using as feet so that this painting can sit on there and drip onto plastic just like this. So I'm going to set that over there. I hope it doesn't drip on my floor as I go. Look at the zombie hands. See, even this is cool to me, right? Doesn't that look like a little guy? Like a little man standing there with a whole galaxy in him, right? I love it. Okay, so we do have a technical problem. I have to wash my hands. I can't mute my mic. And Outlaw has shut me in my room. Right? He came in and shut the door to help me, but I can't get out. So Outlaw, if you're listening, I need to go wash my hands so that I can start on the second painting. Now the next one we're going to do, we're going to incorporate a metallic, right? So those were all just regular flat paints. We're going to do one with a white, a really nice deep green, and a bronze metallic. And I'm going to add a couple of dots of that silicone, and we're going to see what happens, okay? Outlaw is not listening. I'm going to be right back. You're going to have to listen to me wash my hands. My apologies. I can't get out. Okay. Gonna take protection for my doorknobs. All right, thank you for waiting for me, y'all. So while I'm cleaning up real quick, right, Squid? So my name, MrsOEF 5, comes from my husband's service, Operation Enduring Freedom 5. So he's a vet. He's retired now. And, well, we've just got a whole family of veterans. A little late to the party there, Outlaw. Look, I can make a squish painting in my plastic. That's fun. A little textile fun. You're fine, Outlaw. You're fine. All right. So I've already got 1 cup of Floetrol. This is the cup we're going to combine it in. You locked me in here. I couldn't get out to wash my hands. Cracks me up. All right, so I've got Floetrol in 1. You're fine. I know you're just trying to help. You're fine. Oh, see, this is the problem. Pouring out of a gallon, that's a little too much. I'll leave a little in there. There we go. Okay. I can't touch the doorknob while my hands are full of paint, but you're fine. You're fine. All right. Get a little water in here. So the actual measurement, 25 milliliters of Floetrol, 5 milliliters of paint, 5 milliliters of water, and 2 to 4 drops of silicone. That's what we're doing right now. This paint needs to be shaken up. I got paint all the way up my arm trying to get out the door. This feels like it's got something. Hey, host. What's going on here? We're making our second painting. And Squid's teasing Outlaw, because that's his job. All right. So I'm going to get these stirred up before I add the silicone in it, because you want to really incorporate the Floetrol and water to the paint, right? So I want to make sure that this is really, really stirred up. That silicone, once I put it in here, I'm just going to run my little stir stick, my spoon, whatever, around here about 3 times and just barely incorporate it before I start to do the same type of pour we just did. Right? Because I'm going to incorporate all these in the cup. Now at this point we can make some artistic decisions. Do I want to add silicone only to one color? Do I want to add silicone to the mixed colors and then stir it? Oh, sorry, Skelly. It turned out really cool though. This white is super thin. Way too thin. Gonna add more paint. And if I end up with a bunch of extra white paint, that's okay, because it's great to have some to go around the edge of the painting. Just like our last one. And this has already given me kind of a, you know, like verdigris copper kind of vibe. All steampunky kind of vibe. Can you guys see that color? You can't hardly, can you? It's metallic. It's so shiny. But the metallics don't really like to incorporate. They're harder. And they stay heavier for some reason. And this green is not as dark as I thought it was going to be. But that's okay. Let's see what we get. So, vote time. The silicone experiment. Do we put in a few dots in each color and then stack them in the cup? Or do we stack the whole cup and then put the silicone on top and give it one stir? What do you think? You got no thoughts? Nobody's saying nothing. You know, you can't be wrong here, right? Okay. Each cup. Outlaw thinks each cup. All right, let's do it. All right, I'm going to stir that around like once in each cup. And again, first in, last out. I think I want this metallic to be in the center. So I'm going to pour that in first. So the silicone is going to create cells, right? So it's going to want to come up from underneath the paint and come through the top. And when it does, it's going to force whatever color is in between it and the top of the painting to move through. So you get this really cool effect where you get this like outline of color around these bubbles, right? And we're going to see how much cell development we can get out of these things. Now, this process is helped along with heat. So I've got a little mini torch, a little butane handheld torch that I'll be using here in a minute. When we're done with the pour, to knock any air bubbles or anything out of it. So our last painting I did not use a torch on. I didn't feel that it needed. There were no air bubbles or any issues in that painting at all. It looked like glass on top. All right. I'm tempted to stop here. I'm really, really tempted to stop here. I'm going to do a couple more layers. So, I'm going to put a little paint on the canvas. And I'm going to go ahead and stack this green right around there. I'm going to give myself a really nice laid out border. And again, we're going to lose most of this paint that's on this edge, right? So same concept as before. I started on the edge because I'm going to lose that white first, and I want to keep this nice metallic bronze. All right. Ooh, look, we've already got cells developing with the white and the green. Do you see them? Here we go. I'm sorry. Take a breath. Did y'all really? Did it freeze? Or was it just me being still doing this? I want you to know right now I'm going to pour a lot of paint on this table. Because I really, really don't want to lose this design we've got in the center here. I do want to pull it out just a little. But I don't want to lose it all together. Tricky, tricky, tricky. I can't get it all the way out to the corners without almost losing it. Ah! Look at those cells. You see those big dots forming? The different colors coming up between them? That's what we're looking for. That's what we want to develop here. And that's what that silicone is good for. That's what it does best. We're going to pull those all down here, all the way to this end, and then I'm going to pull them right back. Is my screen freezing? I'm going to lose this corner right here. Lots of nice detail in it, but I don't like it with the overall composition. And we're going to move this whole thing down here. Yeah. I don't want that side stretched that far, but I want the other side. The struggle, y'all. There. Now you can see the definition. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to set this right down in the middle of all my paint. And I'm going to grab my torch. Get some of this paint off my hands. And we're going to run a torch over this real quick. And just see how many cells develop when the silicone that we put in there reacts to the heat of this torch and starts to come to the surface. Check it out. Oh my God. Oh, I hate to taste. Okay, I hate to touch my camera. I'm going to zoom in and move this over a little bit so you guys can see the cells developing in the center there. See how that color is starting to come up to the top? Right? So as this develops, and it's going to take a minute to develop fully, okay? So right now what's happening is that silicone that was underneath the paint with that heat is forced to come to the top. So it's bubbling up, and as it bubbles up, you see all these little green circled dots over here, right? So it's pushing through the green, and then it meets white, and it pushes up the white, and it bubbles up, and the green goes to the outside, so you get these really interesting cell development. All through here, that metallic bronze is pushing up through the white with the green behind it, right? We've got this really cool feature right here. And when this settles here in a second, I'll pick it up to the camera so you guys can see the details really well, okay? But the difference in 30 seconds in a painting like this, right, is really amazing. which is what I was saying before, right? This has got a whole bunch of instant gratification, this process, because you get to see a really cool result really fast, right? And we're going to do one more just like this. Not the same colors. We're going to do white, yellow, and blue, right? So you'll be able to see that yellow and blue combine a little bit. You'll see the colors muddy a little bit. But we're going to use the exact same measurements, the exact same technique. We're not going to change anything. And I promise you, our second painting won't look anything like the first. Every one of them is incredibly unique. So cool. So we've got some really nice lacing and metallics coming through. This up here is what I didn't want to lose, right? So I tried really hard as I was moving my paint around not to lose this original bronze line that I had here, because I really, really, really like that bronze on top of the white. And since it's a metallic on top of a flat white, when this dries, that's just going to be high shine. Every one of these little cells will shine underneath that sheen of white. So you'll see this metallic underlay, right? And it really gives the painting dimension. One of the cool things about adding a metallic to it is the depth that you get to it. So this painting, again, see, I can just hang this on the wall when I'm done. I can call it a day. I can paint some really nice saying on it right here. Or if I wanted to, I could decide that this was the floor of a forest and put a whole landscape around it, right? I could decide that these were frog eggs, and I can make this into a whole pond with frogs around it. I can decide to make this into anything I want at this point. So this can just be a painting, and it can be beautiful. It's gorgeous just the way it is. The details in it are spectacular. I just put paint all over my forehead. And if this is hanging on my wall, every time I look at it, I'm going to be happy. And every time I look at it, I'm going to see something new, which is really, really cool to me. Because as you grow as an artist and you change and you learn, there's always new things. And paintings like this, as simple as they are, right? Anyone in the world can do this. Children can do this process, as simple as they are. As you grow as an artist, you see different things there. Your artist's eye changes and develops. And paintings like this are really cool, just to be a reminder for me personally, right? That this may be simple, but there's beauty in that, right? I like to overcomplicate things. I like to make things too big sometimes. I like to overthink things, overthink my art, overwork my art. Sometimes it's okay to just get dirty and play and enjoy it, right? It's okay not to overthink it. So, let's take a look at some of this detail in here. You see those metallics coming through? The shine under the smoke? This really cool bronze and green right up in there. And then this over here almost looks like an iceberg breaking apart to me, right? Yeah. Sometimes we need simple. Sometimes the world is just too big. So simple's good. I love these cells in here too. How they're peeking through. Like even the big ones. And that lacing right there, like those frog eggs, right? It's almost alien looking. Start to finish, made this. How long did it take me? Like this is super quick, right? What time is it? It's, so we've been here an hour, and it's all but paint drying, and I've got 2 paintings done. Now what I do with them after that, you know. I can make it more complicated if I want. I can keep it simple. I'm trying to let this drip just a little bit so that I don't drip it on my floor when I get it over here to my drying table. Look at this! Okay, now I've really got paint on my hands. Can you guys, you can't see that, can you? You can't hardly see that. Right? The table looks as cool as the painting did. Okay. So we can do this second one. Hey Cass, thanks so much for coming. We can do the second one exactly the same way, right? So that you can see how different one painting is to the other. But I want you guys to vote. There's a third technique we can try tonight, okay? I know, right? Isn't that pretty? It just makes you want to play in it. Just poke your hands in it. There's a third technique we can try, which is called a swipe, okay? So I can lay my paint out on my canvas and then lay down a little row of white or black, take a damp paper towel and swipe over the side, and then we can watch the cell development come up underneath it, right? So do we want the same painting again so that you guys can see how different those two paintings can be? Or do we want to try a swipe? You want to try a swipe? Don't put the cup in, don't put the stuff, oh, the silicone. Okay, so we're voting swipe. We want to see another technique? Okay, I'm going to stack another, I'm going to have like a wet paint and garbage bag stack by the time we're done. So I'm going to stack another garbage bag on this. And get this picked up here real quick. I am going to have to wash some of this off my hands. Oh no, it's drying nicely. We're fine. Let's move on. All right. So we're going to do white. I got my 4 cups here. White, yellow, and blue. I do want to stick with the same color combinations that I'd originally planned though, so I hope you guys don't mind that. Let me grab another bag to cover this up, okay? Where did I set them? They're in here. I really wish I could pull this camera over here so you could see these paintings change. So, I have a Discord. I'll post pictures in my Discord. For those of you that are in it or you would like to be, it's MrsOEF 5. But I'll go ahead and send photos of these to CreatiVets as well. So, hey, thanks for the follow. Welcome, welcome. And then hopefully you guys can see them that way. Because finished, they're not going to look exactly like they did just now on camera. Once they dry, because when they're wet, you know, they're really high gloss. When they dry, they have a little bit more of a matte color or texture. Because it's acrylic paint, it dries like this, right? Not high gloss. So if you want it to be high gloss, you can pour a clear resin, clear 2-part epoxy, or you can buy Mod Podge. That's MODPODGE, and put it over the top. They have a high gloss version. If you want it to be shiny, you can do that. I also recommend using any one of those or even a spray sealant on your paintings with acrylics. Because acrylic is water-based, if you're hanging that painting on the wall and it gets dusty and you don't have a clear coat on it, you can damage that paint really easily. And it stops them from fading in the light. So I do recommend that. I personally use Mod Podge because it's inexpensive and it's really easy. I just put it on with a sponge brush, super quick, but it puts a really nice coat on it, and then when I dust, even if I dust with like a damp cloth, it won't damage the paintings. Free tip. Okay, so let's get this Floetrol. Oh, loving this gallon, working out. Have to tell Luke I did my morning workout with a gallon of Floetrol. All right, so this is, again, for anybody just joining us, this is about 25 milliliters of Floetrol. Floetrol is a painting medium. It's going to help this paint self-level and flow a little bit better. It's also inert, so it's not going to change when it's dry. It's inert, so it's not going to change my paint colors. So about 25 milliliters of that in each one of these cups. And about 5 milliliters, or 1 part, right? So 5 parts of Floetrol, 1 part of paint, 1 part of water. So 25 milliliters, 5 milliliters, 5 milliliters. And then we're going to do about 2 to 4 drops of silicone. I bought this Floetrol at a home improvement store. I bought the silicone at the same home improvement store. I've got a little hole poked in the tin top of this to get that to come out less fast because it's such a big bottle. And now it doesn't want to come out at all. Right. Obviously, I'm not measuring anything out. I've used this same recipe 14 times in 2 days. So I kind of got a handle on the measurements, you know? Like your grandma that bakes all the time, she doesn't measure anymore. That's me. That's where I'm at in life. I don't know about this yellow, y'all. It's not wanting to do what it should. This makes me nervous. So, right? I'm going to put 1 part of water in there. Now, I have gone a little bit heavy on the white. I want more white than my other colors because I'm going to border this in white. Yeah, it doesn't make for a very good teacher though, right? Like, it's much easier. When I started out, when I first started doing it, I measured everything, but I've also gone through I don't know, 6 or 7 different recipes that I've tried. Like for instance, Floetrol, the brand, recommends 2 to 1. So 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and 2 to 4 drops of silicone. That's what they recommend in your mixture, and that's where I started because I was like, well, they know, right? But for my particular taste, I didn't like it. I didn't like the results. So I started, you know, playing around with that measurement a little bit. I incorporated water because my paints, for whatever reason, seemed a little thick to me and I liked them to be thinner. The problem with the thick paint on a canvas, like with the geode painting behind me, okay? So that metallic gold, it's supposed to be a geode, it's supposed to be a rock. So I wasn't overly concerned about it cracking or crazing. So I left that paint on there pretty thick, right? I wanted that look. So there's times that I want it to do that. And I like how it looks when the paint is cracked and crazed. But there's times that I don't, okay? So the thicker the paint, the more likely it's going to be to crack. If you leave too much paint on the canvas and it's thick in the center or weighted down in the center, it'll crack through there. And Floetrol will not stop the paint from cracking or crazing. That's not what it's for. Okay. So here we go. This is going to be so colorful. I like it. Hey. We've got a little trophy over there. Congratulations. Thanks. All right. We're doing a swipe technique. I don't have enough paint for that. Hang on. To do the swipe technique, you're going to need twice as much white. I had it in my mind we were doing the same thing twice because that's just how I planned it. So yeah, we need twice as much white paint. Because we're going to put a nice thick line of white paint on this after we're done. So yeah, that's good. Okay. So I don't want to put silicone on my white paint because I don't want the silicone on top. I want the silicone on bottom, right? Because I want it to come through to the top. But we can do all three. Let's just see how it goes. Right? We're testing stuff. We're experimenting. I am going to stir that in though. I want that smaller. Okay. All right, so first in, last out. I think I want to start with yellow. And then some blue. And actually, I think I'm going to put a yellow layer, blue layer, right? So I'm going to do that twice, and then I'm going to put a little white in there. And then I'm going to do that all over again. Poured that right out. And I'm going to use up all of my yellow and blue. And I'm going to leave myself a lot of white. Hey, Makeley's flag, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give us just a tiny little white border around here, right? Pretty much just enough to lose, okay? I don't want to use up too much of this paint because we need to save it for the big finale. And what I'm going to do with this one is just like last time I moved it across the canvas, right? This white paint is going to go right here before we do our swipe. So I'm going to start my pour. I'm going to start my pour this way, where I'm going to swipe it. I'm going to start it here. And I'm going to tilt this canvas just a tiny bit and let that move as I'm going. It's already developing cells. Oh, it looks like a mushroom. Guys, doesn't that look like a mushroom? It's not going to though. Sorry. Sorry, mushroom fans. Look at these cells. See those cells all popping up? Now comes the hard part. We got to decide what we want to see. Right? Do we like this big thing of white here? Do I like these stripes on this side? What am I willing to lose? And what do I want to keep? Looks simple, but you know what? Every turn of your wrist changes something. guys sure you want to swipe this? Okay. Are you asking when am I going to swipe it? Here in just a second. It's pretty cool, guys. I'm trying to grab paper towels, sorry. I've about used a whole roll in the last 2 days. Okay, I'm gonna grab 2 paper towels. I'm gonna go on my sink and get a little bit of water to put on these. I don't want too much water on them, but I am gonna have to saturate it. So I'm going to get that paper towel really wet and I'm going to wring it out so that it's just damp, not dripping. Right? So this is where you have to decide, am I going to go too far if I change this? Look at the details in this bad boy. But this is a great example of knowing when you're happy with something, right? So we're going to swipe it because I want you guys to see. I love it. I would stop here. But what if it's better? Right? So I'm going to stack a bunch of white paint on the end of this canvas. See how it's pushing already? And then I'm going to take this damp paper towel, I'm going to lay it in the white paint, just like that, and I'm going to swipe it over the top of the canvas. And you should see pretty quickly that silicone pushing through that white. Now if we find that we've got too much white over here, right, that paint's too thick for that silicone to get through, we can do one of two things. We can help it out with some heat, or we can swipe it again, right? So I can run that paper towel over there and pull some more paint off of here. Let me see how much paint's on this canvas because I don't want it to crack. Oh. It's not awful bad. Let's give it some heat and see what pops up. And now we wait. So you can also use a heat gun for this, right? My little blowtorch is going to give you much smaller cells at first. See those tiny pinpricks, right? A heat gun with a nice wider head on it, as you blow over it, is going to give you bigger cells right away. So you do get different techniques with the kind of heat that you lay on it. I love this. Love that. Let's see if we can get any more development over here. I want a little bit more movement there. So, artists, which painting do we like better? The one before we swiped it or after? So I like to have an idea in mind always when I start something like this. And I know that the paint is going to do what it wants to do, and I have very little control, all told. I can make a plan. Sometimes my plan changes. Right? Which one is better? So here's the thing. I talk to artists all the time, like almost every day, different ones, right? In my community on Mixer. Well, and on Twitch as well. And they will all tell you that they're scatterbrained or they, you know, they have different disorders, ADD, OCD, they list them all off, right? Or they call themselves, you know, a squirrel, right? They see something shiny and they go for it. But the reality is that when you're an artist, you will make a million decisions in split seconds without thought. And you should always give yourself credit for that. At every turn of my wrist on this painting, I was making a choice. I made a decision, right? Embracing the idea that you have the power to comfortably and quickly make choices and decisions like that, and that you can do it because you've already done it, makes the rest of your life so much easier. There's 1,000 choices right here, and they all culminated to this. And this is a good place to be. Could it have been better if I stopped making choices, and at one point my choice was to stop? Maybe. But this is where we are now. And this is freaking gorgeous, guys. I like it. Like, I still like it. Now, the first one looked like a tree, which I'm incredibly attracted to. So I really liked it too. But look at this. Look at all those colors in that webbing. Does that not look like waves have crested? And it's that foam on the ocean, right? Doesn't it look like maybe there could be little crabs and starfish and somebody hanging out? I mean, I love the abstract tree, but I like the ocean too. And this corner, look at those little guys in there. How cool is that? Now here's the really cool part. Who remembers what colors we used? Right? We used primary yellow, primary blue, and white. That's our color palette for this one. Hey, I want you guys to see something. See as I move this, how much that paint's moving? Can you see it move there? I have a spot of thick paint So there's a possibility that that might crack. It may be too thick right there. But we're going to see how it turns out. I'm going to set this over here to dry. So you have another option when you do a swipe technique, okay? You don't have to work out the whole painting. You don't have to combine your paint. You can lay your paint in stripes. I could have done yellow and blue stripes all the way across here, a big white swoosh, and then moved it all across, and you'd see a whole different painting. But it won't look like solid stripes. That swipe will come through, those cells will start to develop, and they'll all push all your color through. But yeah, this, let me just show you. I'm almost out of yellow. Can you see it? That's where we started. And these are the colors that we ended up with. This gorgeous teals and moss greens and blues. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I know you all know that blue and yellow make green, but that's really, really pretty. I like it. I have to wash my hands again, y'all. This is never coming off my nails. I've been a mess for days. It's the best. Get messy, have fun. It's good. All right, so does anybody have questions? Ocean storm would work for sure. Absolutely love it. Yeah? Yeah, I think all three of them turned out really good. I really do. And I will say, I wish you could see what I see, right? So the black and bronze one looks like a burl of wood right now, completely, absolutely. The bronze and green and white, the second one that we did, the cells haven't developed too much more, but it definitely looks like maybe a cracking glacier on a planet, right? Hey, Crimson, welcome. And then that ocean, that just looks like sea foam to me, right? Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, they're cool. All right. How are we on time? Oh, look at me doing a good job. Okay. I'm doing great. Excuse me. We're doing some acrylic pour paintings. So we've got 3 of them done so far. So I have some leftover paint here. I have some leftover white here. I have 20 minutes, right? 15 with our ending credits. I'm going to attempt to be tall enough to pull another canvas out of my closet without getting paint all over the place. So wish me luck on that. And I'm going to pour this leftover cup in lines across the canvas. I'll pour the white across the top, and we'll do a swipe with lines so you guys can see that. Okay? Acrylic pour painting? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. I'm not tall enough to reach these. But that's okay. Because in the art studio, there's always canvases, so I've got some right here. But wait, there's more. Okay. I got it. I do need to cover this wet paint up though. I grabbed one out of the bag. I'm okay. Thank you. I've got one right there.
Sure?
Yeah,
I can get it. I'm here.
I got it. I'm good.
It stinks in here.
It stinks in here?
It stinks in here.
Okay.
Paint smells like crap.
Okay. You don't like the smell of paint? I like it.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Where's your cat?
I don't know where my cat is. All right. So,
These are very cool.
what you can do is grab me a roll of paper towels.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you could get 2 wet and then squish them out,
Yeah.
that'd be spectacular. All right, so we're gonna attempt to use our leftover paint to do one more painting, okay? You guys are so much fun, I don't wanna stop. And I don't like to waste paint. So, I'm gonna start on this end. No, I'm not. I'm gonna start on this end. I gotta think this through now. I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna do lines across here like this. And then I'm gonna pour the white on this side and we're gonna swipe it through. Let's see how far we get. I'm gonna tilt this up a little bit so my paint flows, because I wanna cover this whole canvas. I need this to fall off the edge of the canvas. And it's not going to want to. Come on, paint. Come on, paint. All right. I just want to coat this edge here real quick.
Okay. I'm not really wanting to be in here.
Okay.
I don't know where you want 'em.
Just set them down there and you can
Down where?
set them right there on the floor. It's fine. Thank you.
Here's the wet ones.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It looks like a trophy right now. That's awesome. And I don't want to lose this. So I'm going to move this like this. I don't want to lose any more of that color because it's going to be underneath that white anyway. And we were a little light on paint since we're using our leftovers, right? There we go. Do you guys have a preference as to which end of the canvas you like better? I did it that whole time with the camera zoomed in, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm leaning towards this one. And I'm going to add a little bit more silicone to this white. Here we go. There's our white. Well, I can't use this paper towel. I've got so much paint on my hands. All right. And we're going to grab this white and pull it right over the top. And let's see what develops. You see a few little spots coming, right? You like this one? All right, a few little spots are coming. I'm going to attempt to zoom this camera in so you can see. A little closer. See those cells just starting to develop there? So that silicone's closer to the top because it's in the white. And this leftover paint sat here for quite a while. So it had plenty of time for that silicone to rise up to the top and not be underneath and mixed in with all that paint. So let's see what, are you guys ready to see what happens when we add some paint or some heat? Right? Y'all watching because this goes quick. Tell me if you're ready. Because the change goes pretty quick. Okay, I'm gonna say you're ready. I bet my head's right in the way, isn't it? Sorry. Headshot. Couldn't see to apply the heat. This is so subtle. So subtle. No big cells. Just a few little dots over here. and then a whole bunch of lacing, like really cool looking lacing. Like this is a it's in the details kind of deal, right? So this piece for me, I would probably use as a background, and I'd probably make this into sand dunes. Right? Maybe a snowscape. Maybe a forest of trees in the winter. I probably like that the best. You turn it this way, and it'll look like the snow's covering the leaves of the trees. Looks like a little creepier forest. Maybe hair. I do think this is my favorite way right here. Right there. I like that. Definitely a forest. Muddy river. Yes, yes, I see it. I've been craving catfish for a month. I need a muddy river in my life. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I like it. All right. Let me scooch back over here. And I'll bring y'all with me. No fishing in that water. Oh, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. So I am MrsOEF 5, as you can see on the schedule here. You can go to creativets.org/live, and that'll give you the schedule for all of the streams that are coming up. So looks like tomorrow morning we've got Luke Pell doing a lockdown workout, and then Rick with songwriting. He is incredible. Incredible. Even if you're not interested in writing your own song or telling your story that way, I have learned more about self-expression just by listening to him talk about how to sing. I can't even tell you. Garrett is on at 3 Central, and Garrett's been doing these super cool graphic novels. Like, it's amazing. The amount of talent and insight that you will find with these people on the CreatiVets schedule, they're amazing. They are absolutely amazing. I can't say enough about it. Please check out the website. There's much more to CreatiVets than just our streaming. And certainly more talent than you can imagine. So thank you guys so much for being here. Really, I appreciate so much you spending your time, and I hope that you found something helpful. If you do have any questions, please reach out. And if there's something in particular that you'd really like to see me do here for my little time for CreatiVets, let us know. More than happy to provide you the content that you would like. And if there's something that you've been wanting to learn but didn't really have a resource to do that, reach out. Reach out to CreatiVets, and I am sure that they will find a resource for you. All right. So thank you so much. And with that, you guys, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you on CreatiVets next Thursday. And the rest of the time, I'll see you around Mixer.
We are a nonprofit that's helping combat disabled veterans heal through the arts and music. Our art programs in Chicago and California help combat disabled veterans tell their story through art. We enroll them into the best art institutes in the country. We pay for their tuition, their housing, their food all 3 weeks so that they can finally tell their story through art. We also bring combat disabled veterans to Nashville, to places and rooms like this here at the Grand Ole Opry, to tell their story for the first time with pro songwriters all about the things that they went through that they've never been able to talk about before. These programs have been extremely successful in helping veterans combat their PTSD. Right now, CreatiVets has more veterans applying for our programs than we do funding. So if you can go to creativets.org and donate, we would appreciate it.